All right, estudiantes, today we are going to talk about another group of boot verbs. Last chapter, we looked at E to IE, spelling change with the boot verbs. And then in this chapter, we have a few groups we'll be looking at. The first one is O to UE. So let's just review real quick on our note sheet. The spelling change we're going to look at, the O changes to UE in all forms except nosotros and vosotros. So remember the same rules that we are talking about with our boot verbs. We're always going to follow that we take off the ending, and then we do need to make that spelling change if it's inside the boot, except nosotros and vosotros are outside of the boot, so they do not need a spelling change. Real quick, we have a couple of verbs that we will be looking at throughout the chapter and looking at this group. So the first one, almorzar. Almorzar means to eat lunch. Costar is to cost. Dormir is to sleep. Encontrar is to find. Poder is to be able to, or it also could be can, like I can do this or you can do that. And then volver is to return. And we use this to talk about like returning to a place. So for example, if you said on Monday, I'm going to return back to school rather than returning an item. Okay, so looking at this list of verbs, we have just a couple examples we have on our notes to kind of walk through the steps. Almorzar, we know, is to eat lunch. So when I want to conjugate it and use it in my sentences, like I eat lunch, you eat lunch, we always just need to kind of recognize that spelling change. And I underline that O here, as you can see, just to review with our spelling change. So very first step, remember that AR ending, that goes away. So I'm just going to delete it right now just so you can kind of see when we take that away, this is what we have left with our stem. And if it's inside of the boot, we said that O needs to change to UE. So I'm going to add my new spelling. And then the AR verb endings is what we need to make sure that we're using. So almuerzo would be I eat lunch. The to form would be almuerzas. So O changes to UE, it's inside of the boot, and we use our correct AR verb endings. El, ella, usted. We have almuerza. Nosotros then is outside of the boot, so we do not need to change that O to UE. We just keep that original spelling. Almorzamos. That would be we eat lunch. And then now with vosotros, once again, no spelling change. Almorzáis would be the correct spelling. And then back to ellos, ellas, ustedes, we do need our spelling change because it's inside of the boot. So almuerzan would be our new form. So that would be they eat lunch. Okay. Another example, poder, to be able to or can. So when I want to use this in a sentence to say I can do this or we are able to do something, we're going to do our very first steps again. Remember that ER ending, that goes away. So now this is an ER verb. We just need to make sure we always pay attention to that. So O changes to UE, and then add the ending. Puedo would be the yo form. The to form, puedes. So it's an ER verb. So making sure when we complete our verb that we look at our ER endings. In your notes from last chapter, remember, we have all of those AR, ER, IR endings, something that we need to make sure we memorize. El, ella, usted would be puede, he or she can, or you formal can. Now, nosotros then is outside of the boot, so no spelling change. So we have podemos. That's we can. It's an ER verb, so make sure we use that ER ending. Same with vosotros, no spelling change. So podéis, ER ending here. And then ellos, ellas, ustedes. We're back to the boot, so we need to make our spelling change. So we have pueden.